Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this daily science fiction extravaganza, commonly known as Tales from Outer Space. Taken from the subreddit HFY. All the relevant links will be down below. And, as always, I hope that you enjoy. And if you do, please consider supporting the channel. On to the science fiction. Story number 1. Humans are a specialist species, and their specialty is all about explosives. Written by the Black Knight 123. Humans joined the Galactic Confederation as a junior member, as history remembers, in the Plastic Epoch, sponsored by the close geographic and political allies, the Uzor. The humans contributed to the GC in ways that outstripped their fledgling resource production and their population growth. That's not to say that they turned the GC on its head. That would be utterly ridiculous. No, humans are a specialist species, much like the insectoid Kaitani. With their natural affinity for planetoid mining, humans benefit the galaxy through their own unique nature. Human politicians are competent at bureaucracy, but hardly a shining light in the parliamentary floor. Their risk-tolerant mentalities make it painfully obvious that no human serviceman will ever rise above the ranks of GC mayor. They have no outstanding physical qualities that redeem them as shock troops or in the event of violence. What humans do have is far, far more capable and terrifying. The GC is no stranger to violent and warlike species. The parliamentary nature of the GC is a perfect political defense against aggressive cultures, and so the GC remains a stabilizing force in the cosmos, giving all worlds, species, and cultures a voice. Pervasive contribution from all walks of life to build a better future for all. What this really means is a lot of nothing ever gets done. Nothing is greater motivator of political protectionism and threats to politicians. When a bureaucrat fears their life is in danger, somehow, someway, laws get passed in record time. It was the events of the Galactic Rotation 56 Plastic Epoch GC Session 30168 that highlighted the uniqueness of the human mentality. GC Session 30168 was in the midst of a day of respite. After several grueling sessions and point to counterpoint, the political dance amongst the stars, all representatives were taking a scheduled break to socialize and attend one of the many galas that were the main social event in the capital. The off-the-books deals that happened here helped the more involved species scrounge up political support on the bills that were in the process of being voted upon. The music and ritual dance was a part of the multicultural species amalgamation in the biggest melting pot in the galaxy, with every species having a permanent habitable zone on the massive space station, along with the associated support crew, staff, and security services. Each species zone was a small city unto itself. On this revolution, the human delegation was in attendance on the Trigonian sector, along with several other member races, all posturing and positioning on the upcoming non-aggressive sanctions on the Trigonian Empire. The Trigonians had recently annexed several garden worlds of mixed population on the border that they shared with the Katani. Aggression between the GC members is expressly forbidden. The hot bill of the session was a series of economic detriments to discourage the Trigonians from pursuing this line of conflict. That was the intention until the message was received. Simultaneously across the entire capital station, every message board, every tablet, every screen suddenly broadcast the same message. A masked face and altered voice yelled out a message in GC Standard. "Attention everyone on the capital, we are your reckoning. We, the parasitic wasps, reclaim every life lost during the Trigonian aggression. They took from us our worlds, and we will take from them their lives. The bomb will go off in 2 hours. Every non-Trigonian can leave the sector via the neutral zone. However, if a single genetic Trigonian does the same, we will blow the explosives instantly. Form an orderly evacuation, and everyone but the Trigonians will be spared. Fail this, and everyone in the sector will die. We will be watching." The message ended, and there was panic, chaos, and disorder at the Triganian Gala as different representatives scrambled for the exits, heading down into the streets, moving towards the neutral zone border. Massive crowds of hundreds of different species moved in waves towards the small diplomatic checkpoints at the neutral zone border. At first, they were overwhelmed, but soon the GC police showed up and began to organize the evacuation. However, any Triganians found trying to leave the sector were turned back, at risk of slighting the faceless terrorists. As the evacuation proceeded, the human delegation reached out to the Triganians. "I do not wish to be viewed as an ally to you or your aggressive species, Emperor," the human diplomat began. "However, I cannot sit idly by and let innocent people die. I am sending my personal security team to assist in the bomb disposal process. I hope that together we can save lives tonight." "Bomb disposal process?" the Triganium Empire growled. "We dare not touch the thing and risk the early conclusion of the terror attack. I am loading my people into emergency shuttles, and when the sector is clear, we'll just jettison from the station. The damage to the sector will be repairable, but the lives are not. I am happy for any help that you can send to speed the evacuation, but we have no military unit involved in any sort of bomb neutralization." "You need not worry, Emperor. My people are the best," the human ambassador replied, terminating the communication. The bomb disposal unit, a team of 10 humans, 4 diffusers, 4 support team, and 2 K9 operators, were the only Sophons to actively enter the Triganian sector that night. They were the only individuals involved in the bomb diffusal process. As the evacuation continued and the timer ticked down, the small human team did their work. K9 operators raced through the sector, finding and tagging a series of 10 explosives spread throughout the sector. The diffusers in their anti-trauma gear dutifully ripped open and tore into the bombs. The bomb clock ticked ever closer to 0, and the diffusing team moved from explosive to explosive, successfully rendering each device inert. Finally, they approached the last device, the shaped explosive charge pressed against the load support pillar of the Triganian underground. Tom was sweating. He had spent the better part of the last 2 hours sitting inches from death, listening to the words of his handler to cut the wires, remove power sources, and reroute timers. He was the team lead, and he was proud of his fellow EOD. They had done a great job in a short time. As the team approached the final charge, he turned on his mic and said, "All right, boys, I've got this one. The rest of you get back and out of here, in case this bug frickers catch on to us, or decide not to play fair anymore. Get on back to the surface and the checkpoint. It's been an honor." With the final words said, he opened his kit and got to work on the explosives, the steady words from his handler coming through to him. The rest of the team withdrew to the checkpoint, anxiously waiting to see what happened to their sergeant. The clock ticked ever closer. With sector evacuation at barely over 50%, there were bound to be casualties. He pressed on, hand shaking slightly as he grasped his snips, clipping a few specific wires, before pulling a battery out of the socket embedded in a large amount of low-energy explosives. To keep his nerves down, he chatted idly with his handler. "It's like these bugs, or anyone else for that matter, never learned how to make real explosives. I'm staring at the equivalent of some plastic explosives from 100 years ago, and everyone is scrambling like it's going to punch a hole through the station." He sliced the timer display from the body and the explosives and cut the final wire. "Explosives inert, situation complete." He keyed into the mic. He checked his mission clock and watched the last 3 seconds count down. And boom, he said, silencing the alarm. Right on time, the transmission resumed on every screen in the sector, an awful chittering poured from the speakers. "Too late! The Targaryens are going to pay for the aggression. Goodbye." The Mars bug lifted up a remote and pushed a large red button on its face. Nothing happened. The bug pressed it again. Nothing. The bug cursed and the transmission ended. A collective breath of panic was released. No one knew it at the time. Not a single civilian was aware of a bomb disposal team that had worked its way beneath their feet, but they knew that they were alive and had survived the night. After careful review, the situation in a full parliamentary session, it became clear that the humans were the only species to ever an anti-entropic EOD military unit. The many of the aggressive species had EOD teams, but the answer to explosives was always evacuate the area and hit it with more explosives. Humans and their love of explosives, ranging from recreational firecrackers to high-energy conventional missiles, were the only species to risk their own lives personally to prevent a detonation. With their sacrifice at forefront of everyone's mind, the human delegation stepped forward to bridge the gap between the Targarians and the Qatari in return for public execution of the parasitic wasps. The Targarians ceded the worlds in question back to the neutral space. Human EOD teams became common on military bases across the galaxy. While training was offered to all species, it takes a special sort of crazy to willingly walk towards a bomb. That special sort of crazy belonged only to humans. End of story. Story number 2. Humans Are Weird Aurora, written by Betty Adams. Don't misunderstand me, Twistunda said, carefully articulating each word. He was perched on a rock about the same size as a human friend's head, and the cold was seeping into his gripping appendages. He dearly looked forward to the time when their friendship advanced to a state that he could ask to actually sit on the blessedly warm head. It is not that I do not find the sky... Oh, that was a double negative. I do find it is doable positive better. The ungulate sensed that this human companion was giving him a disapproving glare. At least, Twistunda thought that Byron was glaring at him. Byron's facial positioning clearly indicated displeasure, but it was always hard to tell which direction a human's bipedal form was indicating. Twistunda considered his options and remembered that they were off duty. My apologies, Twistunda said, reaching over to pat Byron's arm and gripping appendage. You're resting. I will stop asking questions. Questions are fine, Byron said, leaning back to rest his head on the arm and focusing on the northern sky. Just not about grammar. Why do you consider that particular part of the sky? Twistunda lifted both of its gripping appendages in what humans called air quotes and his people called intensifiers, more beautiful than any other. The Aurora, Twist, Byron exclaimed, gesturing towards the north with one hand. Just look at it. Red, pink, blue, green, all the colors now. Twistunda focused as hard on his photoreceptors as he could, spreading his motile appendages to catch more of the heavily light. After a moment, his mass overwhelmed the gripping power of a few appendages that he had left gripping the cold, hard rock. He swayed and latched onto the rock again. I suppose the unusually organized pattern behavior is somewhat novel, Twistunda admitted. It is rare to see such large effects other than due to solar winds. Byron frowned thoughtfully and twisted his head over to look at the ungulate again. So we agree that the sky is beautiful, but you don't think that the aurora looks any more beautiful than the rest of the sky? Indeed, Twistunda said, making sure to shrug the appendages analogous to his shoulders. But we see color the same, right? Byron asked. I mean, you recognize black, white, and the 3 main colors. Correct, Twistunda replied. They greatly enjoy the dot charts that your university shared with us. But you think that the plain black and white is just as beautiful as all that color? Byron asked, waving to the northern again. Twistunda refocused on the night sky with mild confusion. The swirling atmospheric colors picked by the many-toned stars created the usual near-infinite color palette, that sense of divine depth that was washed out in the burning light of day stars. The night sky bleeds with every color of the coral. Twistunda quoted the old children's poem. Byron stared at him, and a shocked look spread across his face, closely followed by a look of giddy expectation. You see the night sky in all its colors? He asked. And you only see it as black and white, Twistunda replied, realization dawning. That is why the aurora phenomenon is valuable to you. The xenobiologists must have missed this somehow, Byron said with a grin. Well, our species did only meet recently, Twistunder replied. Hey, Byron said as he held up his hands to Twistunder, let us go back to the base and write this up. My contract says I get a bonus for new interspecies discoveries. To Twistunder's delight, the moment Byron's hands closed around him, the human gave an exclamation of displeasure. You're freezing, Twist. Here, hold on to my head. Twistunder gripped and shaped surface with delight as they moved back towards the base. This was a fascinating discovery, really. If humans were blind to the colors of the night sky, that would cause a stir in several different disciplines, and if the discovery fell to the ungulates, that would greatly increase their prestige at the university. He examined the glowing stripes that covered the back of the human's neck, with the photoreceptors on his gripping appendages. If the sense of color was so limited, could they even see their own bioluminescence? That might explain the seemingly random distribution of self-depiction pigment in the visual art. He resolved to ask Byron about it after the human completed his report. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this dose of science fiction fun. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, please don't forget to support the author from the link down below. But if you want to support this channel, there are links as well down below for you to help with. But the easiest way would be to share this video. And if you are so inclined, subscribe as well. I will see you all in the next episode, and I hope that you all have a fantastic time until then. Cheers.